You're not going to believe the latest twist in the legal battle surrounding Nazar and Azruddin Mohammed, the businessmen facing an 11-count indictment for fraud, money laundering and gold smuggling. A move that could have major consequences for the entire case just went down in court this week. And it's not about the charges themselves, it's about a tiny, almost technical detail that could flip the whole case on its head. Now, this might sound like a small thing at first, but when you're talking about a high-profile case like this, every move counts. And trust me, this one could have massive implications. Stick with me, because what's happening here is bigger than just courtroom drama. It's about fairness, accountability, and how the law plays out in the public eye. If you're following this case, you need to subscribe to stay on top of all the updates. You don't want to miss how this unfolds. Let's break it down. So, let's start with the basics. The Mohammeds, Nazar, the 72-year-old patriarch, and Azruddin, his son, are facing an 11-count indictment in the United States. We're talking wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy. It's a web of accusations involving over $50 million in taxes allegedly dodged and the smuggling of thousands of kilos of gold. The charges are heavy and the stakes could not be higher. Yet, as the case unfolds in court, it's the procedural details that are really drawing attention. Here is where it gets interesting. In the latest twist, the defense is not disputing the minister's actions. In fact, they conceded they can't point to any specific unlawful act she committed. Now, on the surface, that seems like a big blow to the defense. But why are they backing down? Here's the thing. Sometimes in high-profile cases like this, it's not about pointing fingers. It's about the bigger picture. Now, Senior Counsel Douglas Mendez, representing the minister, hit back with a key argument that even if there were bias or procedural issues, it didn't matter because at the end of the day, the minister's role was essential, necessary even, given Guyana's international obligations. He argued that no one else could step into her shoes. Essentially, it was the law is the law argument. Guyana had to follow through with the extradition request, no matter what. But hold on, here's where things get even juicier. The defense didn't just fold, they have a counterpoint. Senior Counsel Fayad Hussein acknowledged the bias claim, but pointed out that the biggest issue was fairness in the process from the start. In other words, was the minister's decision to issue the ATP based on a fair and open process, or was it influenced by something else? The CCJ's president, Justice Winston Anderson, zeroed in on the real issue. Can the defense prove anything illegal was done in the process? And the defense's response was stunning. Hussein said straight up that they couldn't point to anything specific. Nothing. Zilch. Nada. Not a good look, right? But here's the kicker. The still arguing bias is enough to derail the entire process. Interesting, right? This isn't just about what the prosecution can prove, or even about the Mohammed's guilt or innocence. It's about the perception of fairness. The reality is, when you're dealing with high-profile figures, every move is watched by both the media and the public. A simple late report? That's a headline. A legal decision that feels even slightly biased? That's a headline too. Now let's go deeper. The defense is arguing that while they can't point to a specific unlawful act by Minister Walrond, the very possibility of bias undermines the fairness of the entire process. But at the same time, they cannot ignore the fact that they're dealing with an executive decision. This wasn't a judge making the call. It's a minister acting under Guyana's international obligations. In the grand scheme of things, this all boils down to one critical issue. Is the court playing it too safe? Or is it sending a message that it won't tolerate any missteps? This could be a signal, a warning shot. Because if the defense can't come up with solid evidence of foul play, the courts may start to look at the bigger picture, the optics of this case. And if those optics keep shifting, we could see even more pressure mounting on the Mohamed side. So, what's the takeaway? This case is far from over, but it's clear that each legal move has consequences, both in the courtroom and in the court of public opinion. The CCJ has now set the stage for an ongoing battle, not just over legal technicalities, but over trust and the integrity of the entire extradition process. And for anyone following this case, one thing is certain. It's only going to get more complex from here.